Duke's has twang. Does your Mayo have it? Do you ask for it by name when you go out to eat? Do you display your devotion to it for all the world to see? Can it elevate your lime cilantro aioli to a level that's borderline holy? If not, you're probably using the wrong Mayo. That's because only Duke's Mayo has twang. It's that little southern something that elevates food from good to downright ridiculous. Get Duke's. It's got twang.
Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome in to the Gramlich and McLean podcast. Welcome in to Championship Week. We have an ACC championship that will be happening on Saturday in Charlotte, North Carolina, between Clemson and UNC. And Mac, I want to start with this because we have a great guest today, but people are knocking on the fact that Clemson's lost one coming into this, UNC's lost two, but the fact that we have two ranked teams, two teams that we know are probably better than their records, Clemson for sure, UNC perhaps, and two major brands, this is still an ACC title I'm very excited for.
Absolutely.
We've had Clemson Pitt in the past. We've had Clemson Miami where the other team wasn't even ranked or barely ranked and the spread was 24.5. Like this is a different situation, and so I'm excited for that.
I am too, KG. You know, I was down in the dumps on Monday and maybe even a little yesterday, but now I'm full speed ahead. It's championship season. It's postseason. We've got two really, really good teams, and man, I just can't wait to see it. I know it's going to be packed. I know Carolina and Clemson fans are going to be absolutely going nuts in Charlotte, which is, I think, right about in the middle of both of them, which is super cool to kind of have that. Last time ever of these divisions. Atlantic, congratulations, Clemson. You take your trophy and go home. And Carolina, take your trophy and go home with the Coastal Chaos that wasn't so chaotic. So I'm super excited about it. I cannot wait to see this matchup. And we've got a little guest here today that's going to help us dive all the way into that. But first, KG, I have to say, this feels really good to say this. The Gramlich and McLean podcast brought to you by Duke's Mayo. We're back, baby. So excited for our friends. There's going to be a lot of fun content as the Mayo lady, as she's balancing the Mayo there on her head. We're super excited to have them back. Great partner. So many different products that you will see us sampling and trying. And as you see above me here, a plethora and an array of sauces and mustards and, of course, mayonnaise. So super excited that they're back, KG.
Very excited. And you guys know that Duke's is a brand that you can trust. For over the past 100 years, they've been cultivating and celebrating their commitment to family recipes and bold Southern flavors. They have that twang, y'all. It's still made according to Mrs. Eugenia Duke's original recipe down here in Malden, South Carolina. Shout out to Mrs. Duke. And of course, as Max said, it's not just the mayo, the barbecue sauces, which we've been sent a sampler pack. Max used them on the grill already. The mustards, you'll find out Coach Swinney's a mustard guy. I love mustard. Mac knows this. I'm a huge mustard person. And the chipotle mustard, the bourbon mustard, they're just so good. They just add that little twang, that little extra something to your sandwich or whatever. I kind of just put it on anything. So make sure you check out all of Duke's Mayo's amazing products.
That's right, KG. And like we said, massive guest today, Coach Dabo Swinney. Really excited about this one. He got after it with us. It was fun to talk about. There's a lot of people very critical of his program right now, and he kind of laid down the law, which was great to hear that from him, and just to hear his thoughts on where the season is, where some of his players are, and the mindset really going in this championship game. So without further ado, let's get to the man right now with the plan, Coach Dabo Swinney. Coach Swinney, welcome back. Your third appearance to the podcast. Man, we've got to start paying you a little talent fee for all this time you're joining us, man.
Yeah, man. Where am I supposed to look? Do I look at Kelly? Do I look at your ugly mug? Where do I look?
You can look wherever you want. If you want to look at me, if you want to look at Kelly, if you want to just stare in the camera, whatever you want, you can do that.
Yeah, this is I'm becoming a regular. I didn't even, it's nice. I didn't even know y'all had a podcast. Now after 3 times, it's starting to register with me. Now I don't even know when it is, so maybe I can tune in sometime.
There you go.
I am sure this is riveting conversation.
Absolutely.
Is this a daily podcast?
We do 3 days in football season and then 2 in the off season, and then summertime we just do 1. It's kind of guest oriented. And your wife was actually a guest of ours over this past summer, so we're loaded up.
Okay, good.
We'll get you hooked up, Coach. We'll send you how to subscribe and listen on SiriusXM and all that good stuff. We got you.
Do they pay y'all to do this, or is this just something y'all like to do?
Ironically enough, this Kelly and I have our own kind of company that we created, and this lives underneath that. So we're very entrepreneur with this.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
That's right.
We go for that freshman year, 2011. The LLC was formed.
Y'all using those Clemson degrees well.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
We're doing what we can. Do what we can, Coach. Well, we know you're very busy, so let's get into our discussion here. And you look at this season overall, another 10-win season. You're playing for the ACC title, something that you guys weren't able to do last year, which I know means a lot to get back to this point. Just give us kind of some overall thoughts, if you could, Coach, on this season to this point.
Well, we didn't finish well like we wanted to. We had a chance to achieve all 5 of our goals, and obviously we're not going to do that since we didn't, win the state championship. And thought we had the better team, but the better team doesn't always win. You got to earn it on the field, and we didn't. And had plenty of opportunities. So disappointed with our finish to the regular season, for sure. And but we got to deal with that. It's not acceptable to lose that game, but we got to deal with it. And move on, but stepping back and saying, okay, man, to come back from where we were last year, we've done a lot of great things. We had 2 bad days and 10 really good days. So we're the only 10-win team in this league. I think there's only 10 in the country that are 10 with 10 wins. So out of 131 teams, so we. Big picture wise, we had a really good year to this point, but we're not done. So, but to get back to, I know that, at a lot of places, 10-2, and going to your conference championship and winning your division, you get Coach of the Year. But at Clemson, people aren't happy with that, and that's okay. We've built something really special here, but for me. Man, I will never minimize a 10-win season or a conference division title and a chance to go win an ACC title. When Mac was here and we won that thing in 11 for the first time in 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
And now we're going for our 7th in the last 8 and our 8th overall title in 14 years. I don't ever minimize that because I know how hard it is to do, and I look around a lot of programs, they never, ever get there. They never even get a chance to play for it. So I'm proud of our team. I'm proud of our staff. Certainly, again, not the finish that we wanted, but, we've got an opportunity to go get an 11th win. We got an opportunity to get to the Orange Bowl with a win. So there's a lot of things out there, and still could be 12-2.
Right.
But – we've got to pick ourselves up and certainly do some things better than we did last week, starting with taking care of the ball and some of the big plays and special teams issues that we had, because North Carolina's a good football team and they want the same thing we do. So we're the 2 best teams. I think that's the way it came out, and there'll be one winner Saturday night, and we're glad we're in it with a chance to win it.
Coach, just to go big picture real quick before we dive into this matchup, you talk about you never will devalue winning and devalue 10 wins and conference championships, the things that you kind of have there. I guess, how do you try to relay that to your guys? Because it's much different expectation-wise than when I was there. As you just mentioned, something that we hadn't done in so long. Now a group that has had so much success. I'm not saying it's easy or hard because I'm not in those locker rooms, but what is that messaging, I guess, to the guys when there is such a lofty expectation every year for y'all?
Yeah, you just embrace that. You're going to get everybody's best shot, and then, but I think you got to do a good job of responding, and making sure that when you're having a lot of success, you manage that, and when you have failure along the way, you manage that. I think that's just a part of it. There's how many teams are we've only had one undefeated team here, and everybody says, oh, well, man, we're not what we used to. I'm like, well, my 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, they weren't the 2018 team either. That might be the best team in the history. So if that, that's every team has its own story. Every team has its own journey, and it's all part of a bigger picture. But at the end of the day, man, you just stay committed to your process of getting ready. You always attack what's next. And, whether you had something great happen or you had something bad happen, you get back to work. And, that's what's created consistency for us. So I try to just combat the outside noise with our players all the time because they, the expectations, and all of a sudden you go 10-2, and I don't want these guys feeling like they're failures. Give me a break. I mean, and that's why people want to fire the coaches and fire the staff, and you don't go to the playoff. Well, you're not going to have a very good program. Our program has a lot of substance to it, so, and that's why we've been so consistent. But at the end of the day, you just try to lead every single day and try to teach them how to respond and how to process things, and then ultimately stay committed to what you control, and that is what you do today. And and if you have a bad day, man, let's go win the next one, and then you just keep going, and then you keep recruiting, and you keep loving your players and graduating players. Then you look up, and man, next thing you know, you're right there where you need to be.
And you've got a former player doing a podcast and having a baby like Eric Matherin. That's where you end up.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Coach, this week we're previewing the ACC title, of course, and this episode is part of that. So let's dive into this matchup. And just for your team defensively going up against this offense, Drake May, who I think a lot of people think is probably the ACC player of the year with what he's done and how high-powered this passing game is. So what are some keys for you guys defensively slowing down this offense?
Yeah, he's a problem. He's a great player, and I can't imagine he's not the player of the year. 35 touchdowns, 5 picks. He's the leading rusher. I mean, he does it all. He's very, he's a redshirt freshman, but he's incredibly poised. He can make every throw. He escapes. He manages the pocket. He spins out. I mean, he throws on the run. He does everything. So. I think the biggest, and he's incredibly smart. And he's got great supporting cast. I mean, that number 11 is the best we've seen. I mean, he's going to hear his name early when it's his time because he is a great player. But they've got a good scheme and they know what they're doing. They tie it all together well with their run and RPO and screen game, and then boom, here comes the shots. But I think you gotta mix it up with him. He's one of those guys that. I don't care how hard your fastball is. If he knows your fastball's coming, he's going to hit it. So you got to change it up. You got to give him some different looks, pre-snap, post-snap. Certainly got to get after him up front. Hopefully win some matchups up front. But you can't just line up and play man coverage and say, all right, we're gonna because they're too good and he's too good. He's incredibly accurate. I think you gotta certainly got to pick your spots there, but. You just got to change things up, and then you've got to do a really good job with rush integrity and manage him in the pocket because he can move, and again he's incredibly poised. He doesn't get flustered, and when he gets out of the pocket, he'll find guys, and he can throw it from all kind of different angles. So we got to try to keep him in the pocket the best we can. Obviously, if they will run him. I mean, he gets a lot of yards on scrambles because he's very smart. If he catches you in man coverage and he gets a lane, he'll take it. But they will run him as well, with some design runs, a lot of quarterback draws and things like that. So when he does run, we gotta make sure that we let him know we're there. And and you got to be physical with him. But that's easier said than done. I mean, you gotta have again the ability to. Make him hold the ball some. Maybe it's with indecision post snap, or it's a mixture of what you're doing coverage wise, and then you got to win up front and just make him feel that pressure, maybe more than he likes. But again, easier said than done. He's a really good player, and but hey, our guys are excited about facing him.
Coach, one guy that is going to really enjoy applying that pressure and has no problem with physicality has been Jeremiah Trotter. I mean, to watch his evolution this season has been really fun from our perspective and seeing it on TV and in the stands. What has allowed him to develop so much? What have you seen from him that he's been able to take such a big step this season?
Yeah, I would compare him to Drake May, just at a different position.
Sure.
They're the same age, and I think last year for Drake, I guess he probably played a few games and redshirted, but, he developed. And same thing last year for Trotter. He backed up Balin and Spector and really just kind of learned. But we saw early on, even in the recruiting process, we're like, this kid he's just different. I mean, he's incredibly focused. He is unbelievably mature beyond his years. But we saw in the spring, like, man, we got a chance to be better at linebacker. And man, I'm really proud of him. He's instinctive, he's strong, but the game has really slowed down to him. And I mean, he is playing really fast. He processes things, he anticipates things, and he's so coachable. I mean, when he makes a mistake, he corrects it. He's a great preparer. Like he's a guy that what you're seeing on game day, he's not just flying around doing that. It's just a result of the Monday through Friday prep that he's putting in, and he's just flying around. But he's special. I mean, he is as good as we've had here since I've been here 20 years at Clemson at that position. I mean, he's got an incredible – and then obviously, his dad and the background. I mean, he's just grown up around it, his whole life. But really, really great player, and he's starting to become a leader. Like he's starting to kind of become that quarterback for us too, and get his confidence in really taking command as opposed to just doing his job well. And I love that about him. So he's really put some good weeks together, and man, he's on his way. As has Barrett Carter. Just two really, really good sophomore players that got a lot of good football ahead.
Coach, you mentioned Josh Downs and what he's able to do. They have some other really good wideouts as well. It's not just him. When you think of like wide receiver core that you faced, do you think of perhaps the Wake core a little bit? So what will the point of emphasis be for your secondary this week?
Yeah. So 3 and 5, they're really good players, Green and JJ, and then they got, listen, their tight ends are good too.
Yep.
They get those guys involved. So they spread the ball around well, and just as soon as you get settled on those guys, they throw it to the back. So that's one of the things that makes them difficult is they'll play with tempo. A lot of zone and counter and motion and shifts and things like that, and then RPOs built into it. They'll take any free patch of grass that you give them. They're gonna take it, and he sees it. We've got to be really detailed in our plan and where our eyes are and our alignments, getting our hands on these guys. And it just is what it is. There's going to be some competitive plays. And we got to win those because the ball's going to go down the field, and they're definitely going to throw it to number 11. I promise you. Yeah. Number 11, the ball's going to him about 15 times. Yeah. So that going in, and so you got to have a plan for him. But as you said, it's not just him, and so that stresses you. If it was just him, you might feel a little bit better. But all those guys can make plays, and he knows how to distribute the ball, and they'll do a good job formationally of trying to create some free releases and things like that. But we just got to be detailed, and we got to, again, have our eyes on the right things, understand situationally, what's going on, and then, go cut it loose.
Yeah. Coach, let's look at your offense a little bit here, and we'll get you out of here. Up and down season, and maybe less downs than I'm, want to say here, but what do you want to see from these guys from a consistency basis and just your goal for this game and maybe even the next? I know not to project too far forward here, but these last 2 games that you'll have with this unit, what do you want to see from them?
Yeah, just get back on track. I mean, we played our 2 best games in the Louisville-Miami game, and very balanced, 200 and 200. And last week, if we just hit the plays that are there, we're 200 last week. And so, first of all, we got to stop turning the ball over. It's just incredibly frustrating. We've had 14 turnovers in 5 games. We had 3 total turnovers in 7 games coming into November. So we're really lucky to be 3-2 in November. So that's first and foremost, just stop putting the ball in jeopardy. And then we got to catch the ball. That would be the next step. Make the routine plays. And then, we missed on some plays. We had about 4 big play opportunities the other day, and we didn't hit a single one. And, we missed one on a throw. We dropped one. We had a protection issue on another one. And then we missed another throw. And then we had 5 drops in the game. So it's hard to win that way, especially when you put the turnovers involved. But, that's the biggest thing. Just make the play that's there. We don't have to do anything superhuman. Just make the play that's there, and let's take care of the football. And like we did those other 10 games. We've had 10 games where we've done what we needed to do. We've been really good in the red zone. We've been a really good third down team this year. We've run the ball really well. We averaged 6-point-something a carry the other night. If you'd told me we were going to average 6-something a carry and 230-something yards rushing, and they could only average 1 yard rushing, and we got a pick 6 and a safety, a season-high 11 TFLs, you think you win the game. But, you got to take care of the ball on special teams, offense. You can't give up dumb, big plays on defense. So we just got to clean it up. But offensively, quarterback's got to get back on track. He had another so-so day, but nobody helped him. He's got plays there where we don't catch it, and then we got plays there where he's trying to throw it and we get hit, and then some plays he missed.
Right.
So it's a combination of all those things. So, do what we've done all year, just respond.
And real quick, Coach, how do you deal with that with DJ? Because I think from the fan perspective, from somebody who maybe doesn't know football a ton, they see that stat sheet, they probably watch the game, and they're like, man, that quarterback, just God knows. And then you dive into it a little bit, and you're like, 5 drops, a couple missed protections. Defense actually played really well and got their hands on the football. So I guess how do you handle that with DJ? And I know you can't tell us everything, but just what does that look like in that conversation?
Tell them the truth. Yeah. Tell them the truth. So Mac, this hadn't happened very often because we don't lose a lot of games. But so our Mental Monday meeting. So I made everybody in the building, from the secretaries to the administrative staff, everybody in the building had to watch the tape. We watched it all together.
Hey, Coach, I remember we had one of those back in the day.
We had one.
It wasn't fun.
I ran the tape from about 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock for 2 hours. Because when you lose a game like that and you get a lot of and everybody on the outside thinks they know and they ain't got a freaking clue. So I think it's important that everybody knows what's real and that everybody understands with complete clarity what happened and why and what we got to do about it. And so it was a 2-hour meeting of complete clarity. And so you just tell everybody the truth. And it's just not complicated. And when you don't do the things that you need to do, you got to deserve to win. And, so I pulled out the plays that we needed offensively, defensively, special teams. And, you just kind of stop the projector and you say, okay, well, let's talk about it. So why? Why are your eyes not on your work? Did we not go over it? Did we not practice this? Is this a new play? Is this, this is all about execution. So and the quarterback's no different. You tell them the truth, but I think it's also important because of what you say, because everybody blames everything on the quarterback, and if it was on him, it would be an easy decision.
Right.
But it's not. Now again, he's back on the mat, and with a 2 count. So he's got to play well.
Yeah.
But that's just where we are.
Yeah.
So tell him the truth. He's got to take ownership of his plays, but then also everybody needs to see, what we didn't do around him. And then, okay, so what do you want him to do? You want him to throw the ball? Like, he threw it right there. Okay, right tackle. You see that guy right there? That's going to go a 50-yard play right here. Mm-hmm. And you take a short porch set, like a quick game, and we get our quarter. And then running back, you don't get your guy cut, so he gets hit. He can't throw the ball. He's throwing on time. He can't get it there. Mm-hmm. Or okay, hey, is this wide open? And we miss it. We miss it. The protection's good. The route's good, and we're not within 5 yards. All right, everything's good, and we make a perfect throw and we drop it.
Yeah.
So what do y'all want to do?
Right.
So just tell the truth and be transparent. And this ain't middle school. So Mental Monday, it was a good one.
It was a good one. Coach, this was a great interview. We appreciate you. I have one final question, and it's a little more lighthearted. The truth is our podcast is sponsored by Duke's Mayo, who we love. Are you a fan of Duke's Mayo, Coach? Do you have any thoughts on our great friends at Duke's Mayo?
I am only a mustard guy.
Really?
They make mustard.
Their Chipotle mustard, I think it will change your life.
I'm sure
I really
I've
do.
Had it, and I'm sure I've had it, but
good.
I've never eaten mayonnaise.
Wait,
I don't eat mayonnaise.
Where'd you grow up?
You don't want this massive tub?
I'm sure I've had it in some kind of mix or something, but I don't put mayonnaise on my sandwiches.
Okay.
All right. I've only been a mustard guy my whole life. Occasionally, I might dip a fry and some ketchup if it's there.
Sure.
I'm a mustard guy.
All right.
I love
well,
mustard.
Coach, we got you. We'll be sending you.
We're going to change your life.
Their 4 mustards are amazing, and they do barbecue sauces, so just stay tuned.
Okay. Go Dukes. Yeah.
Thanks again to Coach Dabo Swinney for joining us. This is his 3rd appearance on the pod. I think now he understands that we have a podcast, which is great. I'm not sure that Coach really listens to podcasts. I didn't really get that vibe, but hopefully we can get Ross or talk to Miss Kathleen and get him subscribed. We'll work on that.
Here's the deal. I'm going to start just sending him every podcast
there you go.
we do, and he's going to be forced to listen to it.
And the YouTube as well.
Yeah, he was diving into our business model, asking us how we do things. That was great. That was great to share all that information with Coach.
It was. And, Coach is just looking out. He wants to see how we're doing as 2 Clemson graduates and hoping that we're putting our degrees to good use, which we are. Mac, I need to know more because you and Coach talked a little bit more about this off air that we were not able to put on the podcast. But these mental Mondays where, as Coach Swinney said, the entire staff, including secretaries, probably the chefs, everybody, the grounds crew is watching this film, and it's a 2-hour closed door meeting where things go down. Can you give us a little more insight on this, Mac?
I can, because there's only been 2 of these that have ever happened in the history of Clemson football. And fortunately or unfortunately, I was part of the first one. And let me just tell you, there's a little bit of disagreement on what game it happened for. Coaches, you kind of heard us. He maybe thinks it's 2013 Florida State. I am under the impression it was South Carolina. I'm pretty sure it was South Carolina in 2013. I am 99%
the 5th
sure
loss
of this.
in a row.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It had to have been that game. It had to have been that game. Listen, it was scary, first of all. So we get a text, because you're on this thing called Teamworks, and it says, da-da-da, be at the facility. I'm pretty sure it was like 5:30 a.m. We do not do that, ever. And so we're all just like, hey, did you get this text? Did you get this? Like, you're talking to your teammates. Everybody's gotten it. So we're like, oh, my gosh, this is going to be nuts. Like, what is happening? Because it was an embarrassing loss. It was a bad loss. So we're just like, man, this is crazy. We show up, KG, and literally the entire staff. I'm not just, you mentioned it, everybody that was getting a check that was signed by Coach Dabo Swinney or Clemson football was in this team meeting room. It's not a big room. It is now. It's massive. So we go in there, and he literally goes play by play of these like 40 plays that he deemed horrible, and called guys out, made you stand up if you did something wrong. And he said, Eric McLean, you took a left step. You should have taken a right step. Why'd you do that? And you have to tell why in front of the entire team. And we're just going through it, and we're going through it, and we're going through it. And you're just like, this is never going to stop. It was our worst game ever. Like, we're going to be here for days. And it was terrible because the way it wasn't in order. It wasn't like, hey, I know my play's coming next. Like, I know I messed up. I messed up here. You didn't know when it was coming. And so you're just literally, like, I was sweating, KG. I didn't even play outside of some special teams, maybe a couple of situationals. And I'm sitting there sweating, like almost about to cry, because I do not want to be attacked by a guy that I love and hold so high. But that's what it was like. So I can only imagine it was similar for these young men. Hey, look, you have to go through it. Not all of us, but some of us have before. And, you're better for it. You're better for it that you went through that. And accountability is important for the entire staff. So breaks my heart that they had to do that, but here we are.
When you told me that you had to stand up.
Oh, KG, it was bad.
I'm not sure I ever had to do that. We were talking about watching film, and look, the film don't ever lie, okay? Yeah. So and especially in a basketball game, which is shorter, okay, the next play, that's when I had that ridiculous turnover, or that's when I missed a wide open shot or whatever. But when there's no real order and you have to stand and explain yourself, that is brutal. That is, I appreciate that insight, Mac.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. And any of my teammates, if you're listening or hear this, just hit me up and we can talk about the PTSD that we still have from that meeting. The PTSD
bond
that
over
we still
that.
have. I'll tell you what, another thing that I really enjoyed, KG, was hearing about, Jeremiah Trotter and him taking these steps. I know the team has already come out. I think I'm doing this correctly, but I voted him first team. I think that he's played at that high a level. He's really stepped it up as the season went on. It was cool to see and hear from, Coach Swinney that he stepped up as a leader as well. I think that's an important piece of a player's development. You number one, take care of yourself. Number two, you start making a bunch of plays. And then number three, you have to lead. You have to lead the team. Everybody is going to look up to you, especially at that position. So for him to kind of compare him to Drake May, in a sense, on the other side of the ball, cool. I thought that was really cool and really insightful.
Yeah, definitely. And I also really appreciated your question, Mac, about DJ, because we're not here to attack Coach Swinney and say, well, why didn't you put in Cade? Like that, obviously we're not going to do that. But just asking the process of going through that film with DJ and, how do you handle that? Because all of the criticism from the outside world is on him. And as you heard Mac break down in our last episode, he broke down every single passing play. I believe there were 5 drops. There were multiple missed assignments, all these things. Yes, he has not been great. No, we are not here to tell you that. But it's been, as Mac has really taught me over the past couple of years, it's 11 guys that have to do their jobs,
right?
Especially on the football field. And you haven't necessarily seen that. So I appreciated when Dabo said, we've told him the truth.
Yeah.
Like the truth is there. And he had a so-so performance. I believe he used that term. And, he's back on the mat. He's got to get back up. All that language, I know that Dabo has said on other media things that DJ is still the starter, which I believe he will be for the UNC game. But I don't know why there wasn't more of a discussion of putting Cade in against South Carolina. I'm not privy to any of that.
Sure.
And of course, as Dabo mentioned, you still had every chance to win the game at the end. But I don't think that Cade is going to be off the table against North Carolina in the ACC title. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, at this point, I mean, to quote Avengers, one of the greatest movies ever. I know you're a big movie girl, so I know you like
love
this.
The superheroes.
But to quote them, we're in the end game now. If you're Clemson, and you have to do, you don't know what that means. Don't make that noise.
Actually, Mac, Taylor had a song called Endgame with Kendrick Lamar and Ed Sheeran. Yeah, I get it.
It's like Taylor Swift, I'm sure.
Where it's the same.
You've got to do whatever you have to do. Like there is no past tomorrow. Like it's this. This is the only important thing. You're not worried about feelings. You're not worried about anything but getting this W and moving on to the postseason. So, for me, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to put your best foot forward at every position. I'm sure there's a lot of competition this week. I'm sure there's a lot of conversation with guys. And ultimately, who wants to play? Who wants to step up? Coach was giving us his points, for his offense. Goes through, got to make better decisions, this and that. And then number two, kind of, emphatically there, we have to catch the freaking football. Yeah. And so I think that at the end of the day, maybe you see some different guys out there who want to play, who want to do this thing and can put their best foot forward. So I can't wait to see it. It's going to be fascinating, just to see what that offense looks like. Just because there's been a couple of instances this year where it's not clicking and it's pretty bad. But when it does click, it's a thing of beauty with the balance and the run and pass ability, that Clemson does have. So I'm fascinated to see, KG, what it's going to look like Saturday night, 8 p.m. Right there in Charlotte.
Definitely. And we will break down every aspect of this matchup on Friday. The UNC side, the Clemson side, everything in between. Dabo had some really good thoughts about, the challenge that this UNC offense presents, especially Josh Downs, but the whole wide receiver core and Drake May. So more to come on that, Mac. Last thing here. What are your initial thoughts? We're recording this on Tuesday on the spread. Clemson -7.5. How does that feel to you?
I think if they did not lose to South Carolina, it would be double digits. I really do. I think that
even if they win on a last-second field goal or whatever.
Maybe not as. Yeah. Yes, I do. I do think so. Because I just think it shows, kind of where the two programs would have been. Obviously, with one team, really just fading fast, and the way that they're doing it in North Carolina, and a team in Clemson who. again, if they would have won, playing their best football and playing at a super high level. So, it's interesting that it is maybe still a field goal, a touchdown there and a one score. But I think I've thought this for 2 weeks in a row, so maybe I'm just an idiot, but I think that North Carolina responds. I think that Drake gets those guys going, but you're going to have to give them time. You're going to have answers because, we've seen these last 2 weeks, Georgia Tech, schematically, they got pressure. They did things where, you have to choose. Are you going to throw hot or are you going to slide the protection? Which one do you want to do? And they chose wrong a lot, so he got hit. North Carolina State, they said, we're putting guys in coverage. We're making you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you do that quick enough until our guys get there? So it's two very different things. Clemson's going to be much more like Georgia Tech. Clemson is coming. They're going to bring the heat. And as you heard from Coach, they'll be very selective on when they decide to do that. But I'm just North Carolina fans listening to this, that's kind of what you're going to get. Have to have answers very quickly.
I almost think for UNC, it's worse that Clemson lost because of the kind of things I've heard from Mac and Dabo about how this week is going. Clemson already knew its issues. It's not like they needed the South Carolina game to present them. I think they already knew them. So, and for UNC, they're on such a skid that just doesn't make sense. It's puzzling. It feels like the offense isn't what it used to be. And I think UNC feels that, and they're just trying to get out of it. If this offense looks like it did against Pitt or, Duke or whatever, then, this could be a great game. But I think a lot of it comes down to, we've talked so much about Clemson's offense, and they should be able to score on UNC's defense, even though UNC's defense has gotten better. But I want to know which UNC offense I'm going to see. Right. That's my biggest question here.
That's true. And it's a valid question at this point where we are in the season, which is crazy. 3 weeks ago, we wouldn't be asking these questions.
We were talking Drake for Heisman. We were talking, could Clemson still get in the playoff? Things change quickly.
Yeah. And I will say this, too, about the Heisman. I got an email Monday saying, hey, the voting is open. Disappointing to hear that. I thought that we weren't going to do that until after the championship. So it's going to be. I don't love that. So it'll be interesting to see how does this finale kind of stack up for a trophy that we thought was going to be coming to Chapel Hill. Maybe not so much anymore. But that's it, guys. As KG said, massive episode on Friday. We're going to break down every fiber of this game, every matchup, every player, every situation. Cannot wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. All these are when we just have one game to focus on because we can go super in depth about all of that. But that is it from us. Thank you for tuning in. Another great episode of Gramlich and Mac Lane, presented by our great friends over at Duke's Mayo. Go check them out anywhere you can get your Mayo. I think it's in pretty much every grocery store across America. So just go find that, or you can go online and order whatever you want. And it comes right to your door. I think a drone drops it off. KG is how we do things now. Go over to YouTube. Go over to Apple Podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe. So fun to hear from you guys. Saw a bunch of y'all in the comments on YouTube. Keep loading those things up. It's always fun to hear from y'all over there. But that's it from us. Until next time, we'll see y'all.